Okay, I believe that we are live. This is Gwyn Gittens, and now it says that I am live. So I'm hoping that I am live on Facebook as well as on YouTube. And I'm just checking all my sources here to make sure. Okay. Alrighty. So I'm using a new app and it takes a minute for it to sync up. So you may not see me at this point yet, but this is Gwyn Gittens. I'm going to say good evening and welcome you to, okay, and welcome you to my Thursday evening. Okay. And like I said, I am here. There we go. All right. So I believe that it's fine now and it's on stream. So hopefully you will see me shortly. And if so, I will wait a second for it to link up. See if it's on Facebook. Okay, now I see it. I think I'm up. I think there's a delay on this, and let me see. Make sure that I have the audience as public. And I believe there we go. Okay. If you're out there, please just send me a thumbs up or something to let me know that you can hear me. I think there's a delay on it, which is a little bit crazy. Okay. All right. I do see it, and it is up. So let me go back to my screen that's live because that's kind of weird. Anyway, let me start again. Good evening. This is Gwyn Gittens. I am on the Lee County School Board. This is not a school board function. This is just Gwynetta Gittens speaking to the community and to anyone in Lee County or anywhere else that cares to listen. There's Carla Rubio. Thank you. So now I know at least I'm up and live and people can hear me. Hola, Carla Rubio. Okay, so I very clearly, like I do every week, say that my comments, my thoughts are my own. They do not represent any portion or the whole of the Lee County School Board. I'm speaking on my behalf, my thoughts, and the way that I see things. And I purposely, though, want to spend more time tonight just answering your questions. So please, if you're on, or let others know that I'm on tonight. It is also live. It should be on YouTube as well. And soon I will also be posting on Instagram, but I think I have to post on there after the fact. So right now, I am on YouTube Live. You cannot ask questions there. Hi, Sabrina. Sabrina Wynn. So I cannot answer questions at this point on the YouTube app. I can just do it on the Facebook app. But we're working on it, especially Sabrina and I. Thank you for all your help. So again, if you are a board member, because of Sunshine Law, please do not participate at this time. If you would like to watch and critique or whatever you would like to do, you may do so after the event is over. So and that's because of Sunshine Law. Okay, so let me go into a couple of things. It has been an interesting week. And I would also like, if you can, I sent out some reminders for the event, but please let others know that we're on live tonight, every Thursday night, 7 to 8, or as close to it as I can get this equipment to follow. And just to answer questions, if I don't have answers, I can take them back and find them out for you. I am not the expert on all things education. I am a retired teacher, and so I do know quite a bit about the Lee County schools. So one of the first things I want to talk about is, it is the 7th, and the time is 7:15. You have 45 minutes to do the survey on the Lee County leeschools.net page. And I'm not sure I can pull it up. I'm going to try this to share my screen. And I'll do it in a sec. I don't want to lose you all together. So anyway, on leeschools.net, you have 45 minutes to get on and complete your survey for the superintendent search. I did a whole thing last week talking about it, and the week before I talked about it. It is very, very, very important for the board to know and the district to know what is important to you as taxpayers, as parents, as staff. We've had our share of superintendents in Lee County. So my thing is to say to you, what would you like to see? If you could take the best of each one of the superintendents that we've had, what does that look like? You have until 8 o'clock to go on to leeschools.net. And when I was on there earlier, they have a big banner up because the deadline is looming, so it won't be hard to find. And you can go on and select. There are 31 items, and you go on and you select the 10 that are most important to you. They don't have to be in any particular order, but you need to select 10, only 10 of the 31. And the way the form is set up, it is not going to let you out of it until you do 10. If you do 12, it's not going to let you out as well. So please participate. Please let us know. Do you think we should have a communicator, a business person, an educator, a hybrid of somewhere in between? There are a lot of characteristics that are mentioned, and just take a moment and do it. And even if you have to leave me to do it, you can multitask. You can put that on the side and still watch, or you can always come back and watch this later. I will post it and you'll be able to see it later. And Sabrina says, this is awesome. I love that we have an opportunity to give our insight. Yes, and I just hope that a lot of people took advantage of it. At one point, I think they said we had 6,000 responses, but that included the responses at the town halls that they held and the surveys themselves. And you can go on the website. I believe they have it even broken down as to, how many people answered this and that. When the survey first came out, a lot of people were asking questions, and they asked it at the board meeting as well, if they were sorting it for any particular reason by asking if you're a parent or if you're a board member or whatever you are. And basically, it's just to know, and from what Mr. Collins said, it's to know that we have gotten information from a broad variety of the community. Okay, good evening, Kevin. Thank you, and thank you for joining. Um, and you guys can put it out on your Facebook page to join us that we're over here having a great time talking about education. I know my nose is growing a little. All right. So the superintendent search survey. I posted today, and trust me, that was not an easy thing to do. I did an interview last week with Mr. Michael Collins, who is the president of Ray and Associates. They are the company that is doing our superintendent search. So I thought it would be great to listen to what he actually said, and I asked him, would he give us a few minutes to do an interview? And he graciously said yes. So if you go onto my Facebook page, and I will be posting it up on YouTube later so that people that are not on Facebook can also see it. But I'll do that. I shared it with quite a few groups and organizations that have different pages on Facebook. It is very fascinating and interesting to hear him walk through what the process is. And we are, oh, thank you. Carla Rubio did hers great. We are getting to the point where we have a draft of what the flyer is going to look like. The flyer is what will be sent basically across the nation that has the information about what we're looking for and what the community is looking for, the job description, the qualifications that we must have, and all those types of things. The schedule for us on the board is that this is going to, this information on that you guys are doing or have done, yay to those that did, they are going to collaborate that information and get it back to us and put it in the form of the flyer. So then we will have, as a board, until I think the 14th of October to give our answer to what we think about the flyer. And I've seen a draft of it, and I do have a couple of questions and suggestions as usual. But I will share those with Ray and Associates and make sure that all of our thoughts and ideas are in it. One of the questions I found interesting, because I said to him, how is this process going to work? And who is that? Somebody, Kevin, you just were reading my mind. Okay, the process is so very important, as is community input. Thank you for all you do. I appreciate it. The process is interesting, though. I asked him a question, and if you have the time, go back. It's only like 10 minutes or so, 10 or 15 minutes. There is a section in the middle where he got lost and we lost connection. You can just skip through that. So it's really only about 10, 12 minutes. But I said, what is the timeline after we get the questions in, after we get the someone's asking me, was there an event? Yes, there is, and we're on Facebook Live right now. I asked him, I said, okay, after we have done the town halls, we've done the surveys, we've gotten all that information in, what happens? Because my concern, first of all, and I said this on the dais as well, to not rush this process. My other concern was we're probably going to get a possibility someone that's already a superintendent or already has been one. So when we look at the fact, to me, I look at it like the good ones are superintendents now, or they are corporate people with an education background, but they have a job. I kind of think I'd be a little leery as someone that hasn't, not that they have to be working in a job right now, but if there's a big gap in the last time that they worked in a similar position. So I'm thinking, and I brought this up before, School isn't out until June or whatever, that time of year. And what type of candidates would we get if we finish the process in January? And he explained it that we would finish all of that. We would do interviews actually in January, because in end of October, November to December, we're going to have the applications out there and all of the information so everyone can look at it and apply. Then in January, we will narrow that down to the finalists, and mid-January we would do face-to-face interviews with the finalists. And there's also a process to get you guys involved in all of that as well. And then I said, okay, so we select somebody by the 20 something of January in 22. What happens then? And his response, and you'll see it on the video, is that more than likely, the person we would use February to negotiate contract and get all of that legal stuff done. And then potentially by March, April, May, and June, the individual that was chosen would come like 1 or 2 days a week and work with our current superintendent and kind of get the lay of the land. And he said normally the start date is like July 1. So I was glad to hear that, because I was thinking we're going to interview and hire somebody in January and they're going to come on in the middle of the school year. And as Mr. Collins was saying, it's not usually likely that that happens, because anyone that would just up and leave where they're at and leave them high and dry, I don't know if that's the type of person we would want. Because what if somebody dangles something bigger in front of them and in the middle of the school year they're gone? So I did mention that, and I also mentioned the fact that we have to be mindful and let people know that next year in 22 and the election, it is already planned to be on the ballot as to whether the citizens of Lee County want to go to an elected superintendent. I believe back in, was it 74 or 84? I forget what it was, but we did have an elected superintendent, and then that was changed. So I don't know if any of you were around then. Excuse me, when it was an elected. I wasn't. I've been trying to look back in history, and maybe I can get Jared Eady, who's our historian, to talk about how it was when we had an elected superintendent. A lot, in my mind, a lot of statutes and policies would have to change because the superintendent, I've heard people talk about, what is the reporting responsibility? Does the superintendent still then report to the board, even though they're elected by the citizens? So there's a lot of questions and what ifs about it. But it should be on the ballot in 22. And if it passes then in 24, whoever is sitting in that seat in 24, when the music stops, they have to run for office. And I can tell you that you don't start the same year to do a major campaign like that, especially if it's the first one. So potentially, if someone was hired in January of 22 and they start in July or June or July of 22, then in November of 22, they would know whether or not it passes that we're going to have an elected superintendent, and they would have the next 2 years to decide if they're going to continue or are they going to run for the position. A question that comes to mind with that is someone coming from out of the area. That would be a major question to me. So still a lot of questions that are out there, and I think a lot of that will be flushed out with the applicants that we get and the interviews that we have. So that is one of the things I wanted to talk about. Now, because I yacked on, you've got maybe 30 minutes, actually 31 minutes, to get on and fill out the superintendent search. So make sure you do it. Let's see if we have any other questions on here. Okay. I did an interview on Wink. It was yesterday. I think it came on today. They called and asked about somehow or another. People were getting the thought that the superintendent was just going to switch to year-round school, just like that. Well, first off, let me say, time out. It does not happen that quickly. And second of all, it was not his intention to just, put on the brakes and turn the wheel and suddenly go to that. But what he is talking about, and staff is talking about, the chiefs and all the people around the superintendent, is basically how do we do what's best for the children of Lee County academically. Now, part of that is looking at, and I love this part when we explained it, there's only really two major things that we need to do to close the achievement gap. Anybody know what that is? Okay, I'll tell you. Highly qualified teachers and time. That's the key. If you have highly qualified teachers, enough of them. I mentioned in the meeting Tuesday, I am very concerned that there are students in our county, in the Lee County School District, that are going to school in areas where there's a 52% vacancy rate in core teachers. We're talking math, science, reading, and English. We really have to look at that. And what I was talking about at the meeting on Tuesday, if we have overcrowding, which is shown by having temporary classrooms, and we have a lack of enough teachers, my question is, how do you close the achievement gap? How do you do it? And I was thinking when I talked to the superintendent and a couple of his staff about the year-round school piece, it's basically what they're doing is looking from a 50,000 foot look above and saying, we've got this CARES Act and ESSER money that's coming in. How do we get the best bang for our buck? And I always worry about grant money, especially that type of thing, because here today, gone tomorrow. We have no idea. Another election comes along, and if we haven't gotten all or spent all that we're supposed to have, who knows that we'll have it. So grant money can be tricky, but while we have it, what are we doing with it? The main reason that I read when we first started getting the funding from state and federal government because of COVID, the main reason was to help just the situation that we have, that the gap is widening. If you saw on Wink News the article they did, and they interviewed a few parents as well, and they were saying, this one lady said it takes longer at home. They spend more time doing homework and doing catching up things. And if you remember, for almost a year, these babies were out of school. And some of them, it was a full year. So you can imagine in kindergarten, you're learning your colors, you're learning your shapes, you're learning just how to pass the crayons to someone, social skills, listening skills, all of those things that really got watered down because they were looking at a little bitty piece of screen this big, if they looked at it, and that was how they were learning. So COVID has played a really dirty trick on our students. I see another comment. I'm sorry, I missed it, Kevin. Um, we see, especially in Lehigh area, who needs it due to openings and teachers. You're spot on. Yeah, every week we get a vacancy, staff teacher vacancy report. And what I do is turn it into a percentage. I'll look at the total number of vacancies. I'll add up the ones in different areas, and then I just make it a chart. And in fact, I did it for this last week, and I'll tell you what it was. I think thought I put it on here. It'll be a little bit. Oh, here it is. Okay. So the vacancy report for last week was in the East Zone, 52% of all of the vacancies of core and non-core teachers was in the East Zone. 27% in the South, and 19% was in the West. I like to do it like this because you get a nice, clean, singular number, and it's easy for people to understand. We've got 52% of a need for teachers in one section of our county. We have 80% of the 3% of portables in all of our county in one section. We have the highest gap, I would say, of the achievement gap in one section. So, people talk about all you ever talk about is the East Zone, East Zone. Okay, I can change that. And I can say, as long as there are students that are affected by a 52% need for teachers, as long as there are students in Lee County that are not in a brick and mortar building, and as long as the achievement gap has not gone down significantly in the last, I don't know how many years, I'm going to continue to talk about it. I see some comments on here. Hold on. Hi, Denise. And thank you. She says it's not good. Portables must go. Yeah, I'm working on it. I tell you what, I get so frustrated sometimes. I want to just go get me a 18-wheeler and just start hauling them off. Can't do that. Carla said COVID showed how much we need teachers and evolve and to evolve as community into technology. Yes, that is, and thank you for saying that. That's one of the things that I say all the time. COVID was horrible. It is horrible. People are still dying. However, when something bad happens, you can glean something good out of it. And if there's anything good out of it, it's putting a light on the fact that we have in one part of our county an area where we need facilities, where I get pushback a lot of times from my co-workers talking about the digital divide. I'm sorry, folks. There's a digital divide. There is and the digital divide is not just, it doesn't just mean, okay, you don't have a computer and you don't have a computer. I was talking to a pastor out here in Lehigh the other day, and she said, it's the issue that you've got a grandparent raising grandchildren and they are not computer literate, and the child has a problem and they say, what do I do? And no one knows how to help them through it. So they have to wait until the next day when they go back to school and ask the teacher. So do you see where learning was missed there? Because that's what homework is. is to work on it at home. So when you go in the next day, you can say, you know, Miss G, I tried doing this problem, but I got stuck right here. But if you couldn't connect to the digital service to see the problem or to Google how to do it and all of that, then you go back to school the next day pretty much where you went home the day before because you haven't had a chance to look at that same problem like the child that does have good connectivity and a parent that can explain or whatever. So what COVID has done has kind of surfaced a lot of those issues. We knew they were there. They've been there for years. The achievement gap did not start with COVID. The achievement gap has been there forever, and it's just whether it gets bigger or smaller. Okay. Um, Let me see. We need great facilities for kids. Definitely. Lehigh and the East Zone need it the most. Well, like I said, I'll stop talking about it if you look equitably around the district, and you can go onto the DOE and look at the fish reports, the something for schoolhouse, the numbers of capacity and all that in schools. The very last column gives you the average class size in that school. That is extremely telling. One night when I'm doing this, I'll pull it up and I'll show you. When you have a school that the average class size is 26, 27, and another school where the average class size is 20, that's a big deal. Remember, teachers, qualified teachers, and time to teach them, and the resources. So if you've got 27, 28 kids in your class and you are the qualified teacher, but you just don't have time to get around to them. It's just things that we need to look at. Okay, somebody asked about Carla, emergency broadband benefit. Um, there, I've heard a little bit about it, but you can put something in there about it. There are programs right now that we can partner with different companies and agencies to um, provide internet service. Here's what I worry about. There are some of our families, you know how you say you don't know what you need, so you don't know what to ask for? I think that's part of the problem in our situation. And then also, when you study cultures, a lot of our cultures are not like aggressive or assertive. They're more laid back and calm. And for whatever reason, if you give them a hard stool to sit on and they say that's what they'll sit there. And there are others that will say to you, well, why am I sitting on this hard stool? Some people, some cultures are not, they don't like controversy. They just don't even like it. So they would sit there all day just so they can, they're learning and they're excited about it. So there are different things that we can do, like the emergency broadband. And I think we may have used part of that during COVID. I want to see data. I want to get my hands and my computer on it to say, okay, how are we here? What happened here last year, this time? What's up with that? So those are just some of the things that we need to think about. And what I liked about the superintendent's thought process of looking at from up high, what is it that we can do to get the best bang for our buck? I love that because it's not onesie twosie, let's try this program and let's do this program. What can we do broadly that's going to make a difference? Well, for one thing, I think we need to look at 52% of need for teachers. Kids can't learn if they don't have teachers. Now, how do we do that? Because we're way out here and people live in the Cape and they live south and they live all over. So, how we can do that? We can pay our teachers more. And when they are in the hard to serve areas, we pay them even more. We You just got to figure it out. And I know money is not the end all cure all. But just like on Tuesday night, I was so excited um, to see the all of the bus drivers that were there, and I made the comment in the meeting that it shows a change in culture, because I don't think any time that I have been on the board I've seen that many staff of bus drivers feel that comfortable to not only come but to speak up. And that to me is a really good sign. Um, Let me read our next. Uh, Hold on. Okay. Kevin says the stopping of sports for a year also hurt the East Zone. Yeah, coaches, tutoring, and progress monitoring all made a difference. I love the idea of progress monitoring. I hate high stakes tests. Um, Maybe that would help shrink our um, uh, achievement gap, because teachers will have more time to actually teach and reteach if you have to, and teach it again and make sure the kids understand it. Because trust me, if you've been a teacher, you were teaching to the test. Especially when we had the teacher's livelihood and salary and your job depending on how well the kids did. So I am extremely grateful that that's going away. I was saying to someone, when I was in school, you you did a chapter at a time. You studied the chapter. At the end, you had a chapter test, and after a couple of chapters, you had a unit test, and your grade went in the book, and that was that. And you went on to learn the next thing. But anyway, okay. He says also when sports clubs disappeared, so did most of these services. This disproportionately affected the East Zone. Hopefully, the return of some normalcy. Yeah, that's a strange word these days. These items will help bring students closer to making their goals. The year-round possibility can certainly help address. Let me unpack one piece of that, Kevin. Um, Remember, this is Gwyn Gittens. This is not Lee County School Board speaking. In my little mind, the reason that sports is so important, especially in a minority majority school district, where do we get the attention of most of our, especially males? On the football field, the basketball court, the soccer field. They want to be there. They want their coach to put them in, so they're going to do their best. And if the coach says, well, don't do your homework, if you got a D, so what does that do? It encourages them to do their work. And then the coaches and the school provide extra tutoring and extra help, because they want him playing and running that ball down the field as well. It's a win-win for everybody when the whole village takes part. It just really is. So that is really a good point about sports. And some people think, oh, sports is just an extracurricular. Not to, um, especially our minority kids that think this is my only way out. This is my only way to achieve. Now, we try hard, I know I did, to try to tell them, sports is not your only way. You're smart. You can do this. You can do that. And we need to help groom them that way. But think about it. During a season, that football team is a family. It's a social learning experiment. You've got kids from all these different areas and different levels and demographics that are doing what? Working together as a team. What a concept to achieve a goal. So we're teaching them so much more than just running the football or shooting the basket. So thank you for that. That was really, really a good thought. Um, Let me think, is there anything else? And if anyone has any other thoughts or anything you want to do, I met this week with Pastor Patricia Pena from the church on on Lee Boulevard and Homestead, the big white church, I call it. And she is a fireball. She wants to get in here and help the community and get things going for our kids. So we are working on some projects sooner than later. They have, I think, like 9 classrooms and then another big area, and she just wants to hear the sound of children's voices in there and help. So as we get closer to that, I will be contacting you and saying, does anybody want to help us with this project? And it's amazing how things work. After I met with her, out of the blue, I got 2 phone calls from people that do tutoring and they want to do something in the community. So yes, it's all going to fall into place. Um, Let me think what else. I got a lot of questions about at the board meeting why I was concerned about the word underrepresented. And I wanted to address that just briefly so people do understand. I feel it's kind of like having the teachers and the administrators in schools be representative of the students. If there was no other time, I felt at that point, this is why I'm here. Because my other fellow board members did not understand why saying and our underserved students was a problem to me. Well, here's why it's a problem, because it's like you're pointing out that they're not enough, they don't have enough, they don't do enough. And if you're saying our underserved students, you're basically admitting that you not only recognize that they're underserved, but you're just kind of relishing in the fact that they're underserved. And I thought that that was just not the right way to put it. Now, do I sometimes feel they're underserved? Of course. If you've got a certain group that is 52% down on their teachers and 80% of the portables and the highest achievement gap, they're underserved. But do we as a district really want to go off like that to say, yes, and we have our underserved students? No, we need to talk about all students. And that was why I asked the question, what was the purpose of that statement that, that was done? Was the purpose to apologize to one group? Was the purpose to have other groups to listen? I wasn't quite sure what that purpose was, but I did feel very concerned at saying to anybody that they're underserved. It shows a lack of understanding and respect on our part if we claim that we have a group of students that are underserved. So we're working. Okay. Carla says, but they are underrepresented. Their countries, cultures that nobody to talk for them. No, I totally understand. But if you're labeling them that way, rather than working to make every child up to the same standard, then you are It's not equitable. You're separating out this group. We know they're underserved, but what we need to do is not label them, but look at things like extra programs, the sports, the tutors, the reading, to bring them up to standard. And to me, it's like pointing out something that's a problem that we need to work on. And like I said, Carla, I truly agree. Yes, they're underrepresented. We're underrepresented in the East Side. We are. Where are our bright, shiny new schools like everybody else is? And why someone was telling me they rode around out here not long ago and were just shocked at all the portables. And I'm the last thing too, I wanted to remind you, take a look on the county commission page at the maps. And currently they had 5 when I went to the last meeting this week, and they are looking at having an additional one. The additional one is one that's was supposed to be presented by the NAACP. And what they're looking at is having a section of Fort Myers to be contiguous with the East Side, so that south of the Caloosahatchee and Fort Myers, like downtown, not all the way downtown, but part of that area would be a part of the East Zone. Right now, the East Zone goes over on Palm Beach Road up to, I think, I forget how far in, but it's about a couple of miles on the other side of 75. My thought would be to let's have a even line. I mean, I don't mind combining that piece, but as we go up further, I don't think on the other side of the river that District 5 should go on the west side, because the boundary could be a clear, definitive line. That would be 75. And the way most of the maps are drawn, we get a piece of Cape Coral. Well, when you get someone, I know when I was running for office in 2018, and all up on Slater Road, it is like so far removed from the rest of everything else on the other side of 75. So I made a comment that I hope when they're making these decisions that they look at current need, like I say on the board all the time, and not future development, because there's a lot of future development coming. But if we continue to plan based on future development, the current need ends up looking like the 80% portables and the 52% missing teachers, etc. So we are getting there, guys. We're working on it, and don't know if you have any other questions. When I'm done, I will post this, and please, if you want to ask questions or share this with others and then tell them they can still send questions throughout the week, I always go back and look at it. So if it triggers something or someone else to take a look at it, then please do so. We are working hard to make sure that things are equitable and fair for every student in the Lee County School District. So that's kind of where we're at. If there aren't any other questions, and Carla Rubio messaged me, don't forget, I have an opportunity for you. Kevin, thank you for this forum and letting us chat. I love listening to you guys and hearing what's going on. I was privileged to speak to a group of young people last week, Saturday, at FGCU in a leadership conference. And as I was preparing what I was going to say, it occurred to me, prepare less and listen more. So I think I had like 30, 40 minutes to speak. And I spoke for like 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. And I said, now, Um, I want to hear from you. And what questions do you have? It was fabulous. They had to cut off the questions because there were so many, and everybody was asking this and that. And how do you do? One interesting was in leadership. How do you deal with all the controversy and all on the board? And I took a deep breath and I said, I pray a lot. And they kind of laughed. But I do. So, anyway, folks, we will work through this together. And let's give a shout out to my teachers out there and our bus drivers and everyone who is educating our children across the district and keeping them happy and safe and educated. Carla says, by the way, there's a meeting on Saturday at 10:30, Summit Church about IEPs. Really? Send me information about that. I don't always hear and get invited to everything, so I can just kind of show up. All right, folks, and in the not too distant future, I'll be asking you some other questions and about some projects and seeing what you think. Don't ever forget Gwynetta SG, GWYNETTA at leeschools.net. Email me anytime. And 239-634-0164. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you back here next week. And let's talk again. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.